My wife disappeared for 6 hours every Tuesday. I hired a private investigator. My name is Robert Martinez, but everyone calls me Rob. I'm 38 years old, and I teach American history at Lincoln High School in Fort Worth, Texas. For 12 years, I've been married to the most incredible woman I've ever known. Her name is Sofia Martinez, and she's a graphic designer who works from home. If you're just starting to watch this story now, take a deep breath, because what I'm about to tell you is something that almost destroyed our marriage, challenged everything I thought I knew about trust, and ultimately taught me the most important lesson of my life. What I discovered about my wife's secret completely changed how I see love, sacrifice, and the walls we build around our deepest selves. Especially if you're married or in a long-term relationship, this story might make you question how well you really know the person sleeping next to you every night. Sometimes we think we know everything about the people we love. We share a bed, a home, a life. We know their coffee order, their favorite songs, the way they laugh at stupid jokes. But there are chambers in the human heart that remain locked, even from those closest to us. Hidden rooms we're too afraid to open, secrets we carry alone, because we believe no one else could possibly understand. If you're connecting with my story, please hit the like button to bring a little sunshine to this teacher's heart. Subscribe to Bradley's Stories 1 so you don't miss my next life stories, and tell me in the comments where you're watching this video from and what time it is there right now. It makes me really happy to know which corner of the country or the world is listening to me and what time of day it is for you. It all started on a Tuesday morning in late September, about 7 months ago. I remember the date exactly. September 26th. I was grading papers at the kitchen table before heading to school, drinking my second cup of coffee, when Sofia came downstairs already dressed. That caught my attention immediately, because Sofia is not a morning person. She usually works in her pajamas until at least 10 a.m., only getting dressed when she has a client meeting or needs to run errands. But there she was at 7:30 in the morning, wearing jeans and a nice blouse, her hair done, light makeup on. "You have a client meeting?" I asked, looking up from a particularly poorly written essay on the Civil War. "What?" She seemed startled, as if she'd forgotten I was there. "Oh no, I just have some errands to run today." "Errands? This early?" She poured herself coffee, her back to me. "Yeah, I need to get some things done. You know how it is." I didn't think much of it at the time. Sofia had always been independent, someone who valued her autonomy. That was one of the things I loved about her. She didn't need me to manage her schedule or know her every move. We had a healthy marriage built on trust and mutual respect. "What time will you be back?" I asked casually, returning to the essay. "Probably around 3 or 4, she replied, still not looking at me. That should have been my first clue. Sofia was always very specific about times. She was a planner, someone who lived by her calendar and color-coded schedules. Probably around 3 or 4 was vague for her, imprecise in a way that didn't match her personality. But I just nodded. "Okay, babe, I'll see you tonight then. I've got that faculty meeting after school, so I'll be home around 5:30. She came over and kissed me on the cheek. "Have a good day. Don't let the sophomores drive you crazy." I smiled. "I make no promises." And then she left. I heard her car pull out of the driveway as I circled another grammatical error in red pen. I had no idea that moment was the beginning of everything unraveling. That evening, when I got home from my faculty meeting, Sofia was in the kitchen cooking dinner. She seemed perfectly normal, maybe a little tired, but normal. We ate together, talked about our days. I complained about the faculty meeting, the principal's new policy on standardized testing. She told me about a new client she'd signed, a small business looking for a logo redesign. Everything felt completely ordinary. "How were your errands?" I asked while loading the dishwasher. There was the briefest pause. "Fine, got everything done. What did you need to get?" Another pause, slightly longer. "Just boring stuff. Office supplies, groceries, you know." I glanced at the refrigerator. We hadn't needed groceries, and I hadn't seen any office supply bags when I came in. But I didn't say anything. Maybe she'd put them away already. Maybe I was just being observant to a fault, one of my teacher habits of noticing small details. The next Tuesday arrived. I was in my classroom during my planning period, reviewing lesson plans for the following week, when my phone buzzed. A text from Sofia. "Going out for a few hours. See you this afternoon." I stared at the message. It was 9:15 a.m. She never just went out without mentioning it the night before or at breakfast. I texted back, "Everything okay?" Her response came quickly. "Yeah, all good. Just need to take care of some things." "What things?" The 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again, finally. "Just personal stuff. Nothing to worry about. Love you." That response bothered me more than I wanted to admit. Personal stuff that she couldn't share with me? We were married. We shared everything. At least I thought we did. When I got home that evening, Sofia was already there, sitting on the couch with her laptop, working on a design. She looked exhausted. There were faint circles under her eyes that I hadn't noticed that morning. "Hey," I said, dropping my bag by the door. "Long day." She looked up and smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. "Yeah, you could say that. How was school?" "The usual chaos." I sat down next to her. "Where did you go this morning?" Her fingers stopped moving on the trackpad. "Just out. Had some things to do." "Sofia, that's not really an answer." She closed her laptop and turned to face me. "Rob, can you just trust me? I had some errands. That's all. But you won't tell me what they were. I don't interrogate you about every place you go," she said, and I heard a defensive edge in her voice. "I'm not interrogating you. I'm asking my wife where she went for several hours in the middle of a workday." She stood up. "I'm going to start dinner." And just like that, the conversation was over. I sat there on the couch feeling a strange knot forming in my stomach. Something was wrong. Something was definitely wrong. The 3rd Tuesday I was ready. I woke up early and pretended to be asleep when Sofia got out of bed at 7 a.m. Through barely open eyes, I watched her move quietly around the bedroom, getting dressed with care. She chose her outfit thoughtfully, a navy blue dress I'd always liked on her. She even put on the pearl earrings I'd given her for our 10th anniversary. Where was my wife going dressed like that? I listened as she went downstairs, heard the coffee maker start, heard her moving around the kitchen. At 7:45, I heard the front door close and her car start. I got up immediately, went to the window, and watched her pull out of the driveway. At school that day, I couldn't concentrate. During my 3rd period class on reconstruction, I completely lost my train of thought mid-sentence, staring at the board, my mind 100 miles away. "Mr. Martinez," one of my students, Jessica Chen, raised her hand, tentatively. "Are you okay?" I blinked, coming back to the present. "Yes, sorry, where was I?" "You were talking about the Freedmen's Bureau," another student offered, but I couldn't remember what I'd been saying. I looked at the clock. 11:30 a.m. Sofia had left over 3 hours ago. Where was she? What was she doing? That evening I tried a different approach. I waited until we were in bed, the lights off, that intimate darkness where some truths come easier. "Sofia," I said softly, "I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me." I felt her tense beside me. "Okay. Where do you go on Tuesdays?" Silence. Long, heavy silence. "Why are you asking?" Her voice was barely a whisper. "Because you've been disappearing every Tuesday for the past 3 weeks. You leave early, you won't tell me where you're going, and you come back looking exhausted. I'm your husband. I'm worried. Rob, please, just trust me." "I do trust you, but you're asking me to be okay with you having this whole part of your life that I know nothing about. That's not how our marriage works." She turned on her side, away from me. "I'm not ready to talk about it." "Not ready to talk about what?" "Please, Rob, just give me some time." I lay there in the darkness, my heart pounding. "Are you having an affair?" She turned back so fast I felt the mattress shift. "What? No! God, no. Rob, how could you even think that? Then what am I supposed to think? You're sneaking out, getting dressed up, refusing to tell me anything. What conclusion should I draw?" "I'm not having an affair," she said firmly. "I love you. Only you. I have never cheated on you. And I never would." "Then where do you go?" "I can't tell you yet." "Can't or won't?" She was quiet for a long moment. "Both." I turned on the bedside lamp. We looked at each other in the sudden brightness, and I saw something in her eyes I'd never seen before. Fear. But fear of what? "Are you in trouble?" I asked, my voice softer now. "Are you sick? Is something wrong?" Tears welled up in her eyes. "No, I'm not sick. I'm not in trouble. I'm working through something, okay? Something I need to do on my own. We're married, Sofia. You don't have to do anything on your own." "This I do," she whispered. "The fourth Tuesday, I did something I'm not proud of. I called in sick to school. I've only called in sick maybe 5 times in my entire teaching career, and I wasn't sick that day, but I needed to know. The not knowing was eating me alive. I parked my car 2 blocks away and walked back to our house, positioning myself across the street behind a neighbor's hedge where I could see our driveway. I felt ridiculous, like a character in a bad detective movie. But I couldn't help myself. At 8:15 a.m., Sofia came out of the house. She was wearing a simple black dress and flats, carrying her purse. She got in her car and backed out of the driveway. I ran to my car and followed her. Following someone in real life is harder than it looks in the movies. I tried to stay a few cars back, but at stoplights I was terrified she'd look in her rearview mirror and recognize my car. My hands were sweating on the steering wheel, my heart racing like I was doing something illegal. She drove for about 20 minutes, heading to a part of town I didn't know well. The buildings got older, the neighborhoods less familiar. Finally, she pulled into a parking lot next to a plain brick building. There was no sign on the building, no indication of what it was. I parked across the street and watched as Sofia got out of her car. She stood there for a moment, her hand on the car door, her head bowed as if she was gathering courage. Then she walked to the building's entrance and went inside. I sat there for 10 minutes, debating what to do. Should I follow her in? Should I wait? Should I drive home and pretend this never happened? I waited. For 6 hours I sat in that car, watching that building. People came and went, but I never saw Sofia. At 2:30 p.m. she finally emerged. Even from across the street, I could see she'd been crying. Her eyes were red, her makeup smudged. She got in her car and sat there for several minutes before starting the engine. I followed her home, staying far enough back that she wouldn't notice. She pulled into our driveway at 3 p.m. I waited 15 minutes, then drove home myself, coming in at my normal time as if I'd been at school all day. "Hey!" I called out when I walked in. She appeared from the kitchen, looking completely normal. Her makeup was fixed, her eyes clear. If I hadn't seen her crying just an hour ago, I would never have known. "How was school?" she asked brightly. Too brightly. "Long day," I replied, studying her face. "How about you?" "Good. Productive. I finished the logo designs for that new client." She was lying. She'd been crying in her car, not designing logos. The realization that my wife was actively lying to me hit harder than anything else. We'd always been honest with each other, sometimes brutally so. But now, she was looking me in the eye and lying. That night after Sofia fell asleep, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. The woman beside me, the woman I'd loved for 12 years, had become a stranger. Every Tuesday she disappeared into a life I knew nothing about. She came home with red eyes and secrets. I thought about that building. What was it? A doctor's office? A therapist? A lawyer? Was she planning to divorce me? Was she dealing with something so terrible she couldn't share it? The questions circled in my mind like vultures. I had to know. I couldn't live like this anymore. Wondering, suspecting, imagining the worst. That's when I made the decision that would change everything. The next morning, I looked up private investigators in Fort Worth. I felt sick doing it, felt like I was betraying our marriage, violating her privacy. But she'd left me no choice. She created this situation by shutting me out. I found a small agency called Apex Investigations. Their website was simple and professional, promising discretion and results. I called from my classroom during my planning period, closing the door and speaking in a low voice, as if the walls might hear and judge me. Apex Investigations. This is Diane speaking. Hi, I paused, almost hanging up. I need to hire someone to follow my wife. There was no judgment in Diane's voice, just professional courtesy. I understand, sir. Can you come in for a consultation? We have an opening this afternoon at 4 if that works for you. Yes, I heard myself say. I'll be there. The office was in a modest building downtown 3rd floor, a frosted glass door with the company name in simple black letters. A woman in her 50s, Diane presumably, sat behind a desk in the small reception area. Mr. Martinez, she asked as I entered. I nodded, my throat tight. Please come in. Mr. Novak will see you now. She led me to an inner office where a man in his early 40s sat behind a desk. He stood and extended his hand. Jack Novak, please, have a seat. I sat, feeling surreal, like I was watching myself from outside my body. Tell me what's going on, Novak said, his voice kind but professional. And so I did. I told him everything. The Tuesdays, the evasions, the lies, the building I'd followed her to. As I spoke, I heard how it sounded, how suspicious it all was. What do you think is happening? Novak asked when I finished. I don't know. That's why I'm here. Do you think she's having an affair? She says she's not, and I want to believe her. But the secrecy, it doesn't make sense. We've always told each other everything. Novak nodded, making notes on a legal pad. I can follow her next Tuesday, document where she goes, what she does. My rate is $150 an hour plus expenses. For a full-day surveillance, you're looking at around $1,200 to $1,500. The number made me wince, but I nodded. Do it. I need to know. I'll need some information from you. Her vehicle description, license plate, your home address, her typical schedule on Tuesdays. I provided everything, feeling more like a traitor with each detail I shared. But I was past the point of no return now. I'll start next Tuesday, Novak said. I'll send you a detailed report with photos and a timeline of her activities. Most cases like this, we have answers within 1 or 2 days of surveillance. One more thing, I said as I stood to leave. That building I followed her to. Can you find out what it is? He wrote down the address I gave him. I'll look into it. I drove home in a daze. What had I just done? I'd hired a stranger to spy on my wife. But what choice did I have? She'd forced my hand by refusing to trust me with whatever she was dealing with. That night at dinner, I could barely look at her. Every smile felt like a lie. Every casual comment felt loaded with hidden meaning. You're quiet tonight, Sofia observed, passing me the salad bowl. Just tired. Rough day with the kids. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. I love you, you know that. I looked into her eyes. Those beautiful brown eyes I'd first fallen in love with 14 years ago at a coffee shop near campus. I love you too. Did I? Could you love someone and spy on them? Could you love someone who was lying to you? The weekend passed slowly. I tried to act normal, but I kept catching Sofia looking at me with a strange expression, as if she knew something was different, as if she could sense the investigator waiting in the wings. On Monday night, I lay in bed, listening to her breathe beside me, knowing that tomorrow, Jack Novak would follow her. Tomorrow I would finally have answers. I wasn't sure I was ready for what those answers might be. Tuesday morning arrived like a verdict I couldn't escape. I woke before my alarm, my stomach churning with anxiety and guilt. Beside me, Sofia slept peacefully, her face soft and unguarded in the early morning light. I watched her for a moment, memorizing the curve of her cheek, the way her hair fell across the pillow. After today, everything might change. At 6:30, she stirred, opened her eyes, and smiled at me. "Morning." "Morning," I replied, my voice rough. She reached over and touched my face. "You okay? You look tense." "Just didn't sleep well," I lied. Another lie to add to the pile we were building between us. She kissed my forehead and got up. I watched her move around the bedroom, selecting her clothes with the same care I'd noticed before. Today she chose a simple gray sweater and black pants. Understated, almost somber. At breakfast, I pushed my cereal around the bowl, not eating. Sofia was checking her phone, distracted. "You have a busy day?" I asked, trying to sound casual. She looked up, startled. "What?" "Oh, yeah. Sort of. The usual. The usual Tuesday stuff?" Her eyes met mine, and for a moment, I saw something flicker there. Suspicion, fear. "Yeah. What time will you be back?" "Probably around 3:30 or 4 o'clock. She stood, bringing her coffee cup to the sink. "I need to get going, actually." It was only 7:45. She never left this early, even on Tuesdays. This early? I couldn't help asking. "Yeah, I have to. There's something I need to do first." She grabbed her purse and keys. "Have a good day at school." She kissed me quickly, perfunctorily, and headed for the door. "Sofia," I called after her. She turned, her hand on the doorknob. "I love you." Her face softened. "I love you too, Rob. So much. I hope you know that." And then, she was gone. I sat at the kitchen table, my phone in my hand, Jack Novak's number on the screen. I'd texted him earlier that morning. "She's leaving now." His response came quickly. "I'm in position. I'll keep you updated." I went to school in a fog. During first period, my phone buzzed with a text from Novak. Subject departed residence, 7:52 a.m., heading east on Highway 287. During second period, subject stopped at coffee shop on Main Street. Purchased coffee, sat in car for 15 minutes, appeared to be on phone call. Now heading to previous location, you mentioned. I excused myself to the bathroom and read the text 3 times. She'd sat in her car for 15 minutes. On a phone call with who? Third period. Subject arrived at building at 9:47 a.m. Went inside. I've identified the location. It's called the Meadowbrook Center. Researching now. The Meadowbrook Center. The name meant nothing to me. I typed it into Google on my phone. The search results made my heart stop. The Meadowbrook Center was a residential psychiatric facility. I stared at my phone screen, at those words. Psychiatric facility. My wife was spending 6 hours every Tuesday at a psychiatric facility. Was she a patient? Was she visiting someone? My mind raced through possibilities, each more terrifying than the last. Was Sofia having a mental breakdown I hadn't noticed? Was she being treated for something? Depression? Anxiety? Something worse? Or was she visiting someone there? A friend, a family member she'd never mentioned? I made it through the rest of the school day on autopilot. I had no memory of what I taught, what I said to students. My mind was entirely consumed by that name. The Meadowbrook Center. At 3:15 p.m., another text from Novak. Subject exited building at 3:08 p.m., appeared emotionally distressed. Sat in vehicle for 12 minutes, now heading toward your residence. I'll follow up with full report and photos this evening. I left school at 3:30 and drove home, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. Sofia's car was already in the driveway. I sat in my car for a moment, trying to compose myself, trying to decide what to do with this information. When I walked in, she was in the kitchen, chopping vegetables for dinner. She looked up and smiled, but I could see the redness around her eyes, the exhaustion in the lines of her face. "Hey," she said, "how was your day?" I wanted to scream. I wanted to grab her shoulders and demand she tell me everything. Instead, I said, "Fine. Yours?" "Good. Productive." Another lie. She'd been at a psychiatric facility, crying in her car. Not productive, not good. "Sofia," I started, then stopped. She looked at me. Knife paused mid-chop. "What?" "Nothing. I'm just going to change out of these work clothes." I went upstairs and sat on the edge of our bed, my head in my hands. I couldn't do this anymore. I couldn't pretend everything was normal when I knew she was lying, when I knew she was spending every Tuesday at a psychiatric facility, when I knew our marriage was built on a foundation of secrets. That evening, after a dinner where we both pushed food around our plates and made hollow small talk, I told Sofia I had papers to grade and retreated to my home office. At 7 p.m., my email pinged. Jack Novak's report. I opened it with trembling hands. The report was thorough, almost painfully so. Time-stamped photos showed Sofia's car arriving at the Meadowbrook Center. Photos of her walking to the entrance, her shoulders hunched, her posture defensive. The report noted every movement, every stop, every moment. But it was the last section that hit me the hardest, regarding the Meadowbrook Center. This is a private, residential, psychiatric and rehabilitation facility, specializing in long-term care for patients with severe mental health conditions, traumatic brain injuries, and catatonic states. The facility has 47 beds and requires patients to be referred by a physician. Visiting hours are 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. daily. Without knowing the subject's specific purpose at the facility, I cannot determine if she is a patient, visitor, or there in some other capacity. However, her emotional state upon exiting and the length of her visits, consistently 5 to 6 hours, suggest deep personal involvement. Based on my experience, I would estimate she is visiting a long-term patient, possibly a family member or close friend. The regularity of Tuesday visits might be connected to facility scheduling or her own schedule constraints. Recommend, if you want more specific information about her activities inside the facility, we would need to conduct an inside investigation, which would require more invasive methods and carry higher risks of detection. I closed my laptop and sat in the darkness of my office. Sofia was visiting someone at a psychiatric facility, someone she'd never mentioned to me, someone important enough to visit for 6 hours every single Tuesday, someone she was willing to lie to me about, to hide from me. Who? And why the secrecy? I thought about our 12 years of marriage, trying to remember if she'd ever mentioned anyone with the mental health issues. Her parents were both dead. She'd lost her mother to cancer when she was 19, her father to a heart attack. Just 3 years ago, she was an only child. At least, that's what she'd always told me. But what if she wasn't? What if there was a sibling I'd never known about? A sibling in a psychiatric facility? The thought seemed absurd. But what else could explain this? People didn't just hide family members for no reason, unless the reason was shame. Unless the reason was so painful, so complicated, that sharing it felt impossible. I remembered our wedding day, how Sofia's side of the church had been small. Just a handful of her father's friends, a couple of distant cousins. I'd thought it sad at the time that she had so little family. My side had been packed. Parents, siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins, childhood friends. Her side had echoed with emptiness. "I don't have much family," she'd explained when I'd asked about it during our engagement. "It's always just been me and my dad. My mom's family cut ties after she died. Long story, complicated family dynamics. I don't keep in touch with them." I'd accepted that explanation. Why wouldn't I? But now, sitting in the darkness, I wondered what other explanations I'd accepted without question. What other lies had I believed because I loved her, because I trusted her, because I never imagined she would hide something so fundamental from me? I heard her footsteps on the stairs, a soft knock on my office door. "Rob, are you coming to bed?" I opened the door. She stood there in her pajamas, her hair pulled back, looking young and vulnerable. "Yeah, sorry. Got caught up grading." She stepped closer, wrapped her arms around my waist, laid her head on my chest. I held her, breathing in the familiar scent of her shampoo, feeling the warmth of her body against mine. "I miss you," she whispered. "I'm right here." "No, you're not. Not really. You've been distant for weeks. I can feel it." The irony was almost unbearable. She was accusing me of being distant when she was the one with the secret life, the hidden Tuesdays, the psychiatric facility visits. "I'm sorry," I said, because I didn't know what else to say. She pulled back and looked up at me. "Is everything okay between us?" "Is everything okay between us?" I echoed. "I should be asking you that." Her face changed, became guarded. "What do you mean?" This was my moment. I could confront her right now. I could tell her I knew about the Meadowbrook Center, that I'd hired an investigator, that I knew she'd been lying. But something stopped me. Maybe it was the fear in her eyes. Maybe it was my own cowardice. Maybe it was the sudden realization that once I said those words, we could never take them back. Our marriage would be fundamentally changed. "Nothing," I said finally. "Just that you seem stressed lately. Tired." She relaxed slightly. "I am tired. I've been working a lot." Another lie. But I let it pass. We went to bed. She fell asleep quickly, her breathing evening out, her body relaxing into the mattress. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, my mind churning. Tomorrow I would call Jack Novak. I would ask him about the inside investigation, the invasive methods. I needed to know who Sofia was visiting. I needed to understand why she was keeping this secret. But even as I made this decision, I felt a deep sense of dread. Some doors once opened can never be closed. Some truths once known can never be unknown. Was I ready for whatever I was about to discover? The next morning I called Novak from my car before school started. "Mr. Martinez," he answered professionally. "Did you receive my report?" "I did. I need to know who she's visiting at that facility." There was a pause. "That's going to be more complicated. The facility has strict privacy policies. I can't just walk in and ask for patient information." "So what can you do?" "I have a contact who works in medical records at a hospital that refers patients to Meadowbrook. She might be able to look into it, but it's risky. And expensive." "How expensive?" "An additional $2,000, and there's no guarantee of results." I closed my eyes. We didn't have $2,000 to spare. I was a teacher. Sofia's freelance income was good, but irregular. We had a mortgage, car payments, student loans from my master's degree, but I had my savings account, the one I'd been building for years, planning to surprise Sofia with a trip to Italy for our 15th anniversary next year. Rome, Florence, Venice. She'd always dreamed of going. "Do it," I heard myself say. "I'll need a few days. I'll be in touch." I spent the next 3 days in agony. At school, I went through the motions. At home, I pretended everything was normal. Sofia seemed relieved that I'd stopped asking questions, stopped pressing her about her Tuesdays. She was more affectionate, more present. It made everything worse. On Friday evening, we went to dinner at her favorite Italian restaurant. She wore a red dress I loved, and her eyes sparkled in the candlelight. For a moment, I could almost forget about the Meadowbrook Center, about the lies, about the investigator working to uncover her secrets. "I've been thinking," she said, over tiramisu, reaching across the table to hold my hand. "Maybe we should take a trip this summer. Get away, just the two of us. When's the last time we really traveled?" "Our honeymoon," I replied. 12 years ago. "Exactly. We should go somewhere special." Where would you want to go? Italy, I said without thinking. Rome, Florence, Venice. Her face lit up. Rob, really? You'd want to go to Italy? I nodded, guilt crushing my chest. I know you've always wanted to. She squeezed my hand, her eyes suddenly wet with tears. You're the best husband. You know that? I wanted to laugh. I wanted to cry. I was the husband who'd spent the money for our Italy trip on a private investigator to spy on her. That night we made love for the first time in weeks. Sofia was passionate, intense, clinging to me as if I might disappear. Afterward, she fell asleep in my arms, and I lay there holding her, wondering if this was the last moment of peace we'd have before everything fell apart. On Monday afternoon, Novak called. I have information. My heart stopped. What did you find? The person your wife is visiting. Her name is Elena Martinez, age 41. She's been a resident at the Meadowbrook Center for 19 years. Elena Martinez, the same last name. But Sofia was an only child. She'd told me 1,000 times. Who is she? I asked, my voice barely audible. That's what I was hoping you could tell me. According to records, Elena Martinez was admitted in 2004, following a severe traumatic brain injury. She's been in a minimally conscious state ever since. Your wife has been visiting her every Tuesday for at least the past 5 years, possibly longer. My mind reeled. 2004? But that was before I even met Sofia. We started dating in 2009. Exactly. This relationship, whatever it is, predates your marriage. But who is she? A sister? A cousin? The records don't specify the relationship. Just that Sofia Martinez is listed as Elena's only regular visitor and her medical proxy. Medical proxy. That meant Sofia had legal authority to make medical decisions for this woman. You didn't give that authority to a distant cousin or a friend. There's one more thing, Novak continued. The admission records from 2004 list Sofia Martinez, then age 22, as the patient's sister and next of kin. The world tilted. Sister. Sofia had a sister she'd never mentioned. A sister in a psychiatric facility, in a minimally conscious state, for 19 years. Mr. Martinez, are you still there? Yeah, I managed. I'm here. I can do more digging if you want. Find out about the accident, the circumstances. No, I interrupted. I have enough. Understood. I'll send you a final invoice. I hung up and sat in my car in the school parking lot, my hands trembling. Sofia had a sister. For our entire relationship, for our entire marriage, she'd had a sister, and she'd never told me. Why? What could possibly justify keeping something like that secret? I drove home in a daze. When I walked in, Sofia was on the couch, laptop open, working on a design. She looked up and smiled. Hey, you're home early. I stood in the doorway looking at her. This woman I'd loved for 12 years. This stranger. Rob, what's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost. Maybe I had. The ghost of the marriage I thought we had. The ghost of the trust that had just died. I need to talk to you about something. Her smile faded. She closed her laptop slowly. Okay. I came into the living room but didn't sit down. I couldn't. I was too full of energy, anger, confusion, hurt. I know where you go on Tuesdays. The color drained from her face. For a long moment, she didn't move, didn't breathe. Then very quietly, she said, How? I followed you, and when that wasn't enough, I hired a private investigator. She stood up, her hand going to her throat. You hired a... Rob, you had someone follow me. You gave me no choice. You've been lying to me for months, disappearing every Tuesday, refusing to tell me where you're going, making up excuses. So you hired a stranger to spy on me. Her voice was rising now. anger mixing with fear. That's what you thought was the right thing to do. You have a sister. The words hung in the air between us like a bomb waiting to explode. Sofia's face crumpled. She sat back down heavily, as if her legs wouldn't support her anymore. "How much do you know?" she whispered. "I know her name is Elena. I know she's been at the Meadowbrook Center for 19 years. I know you've been visiting her every Tuesday, and I know you've been lying to me about it our entire marriage." Tears started streaming down Sofia's face. "Rob, why?" The word came out as a shout. "Why would you keep something like this from me? We've been married for 12 years. 12 years, Sofia. And in all that time, you never once thought to mention you have a sister you visit every single week. You don't understand. Then make me understand." I was pacing now, unable to stand still. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like our entire marriage has been built on a lie. What else haven't you told me? What else are you hiding? She was sobbing now, her whole body shaking. "I wanted to tell you. So many times I wanted to tell you. But you didn't. Why?" She looked up at me, her face wet with tears, and I saw something in her eyes I'd never seen before. Raw, unfiltered pain. The kind of pain that lives in the bones, that becomes part of who you are. "Because," she said, her voice breaking, "I couldn't bear to lose you too." I stopped pacing. "What?" She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand, trying to compose herself, but the tears kept coming. "Sit down, Rob, please. If I'm finally going to tell you this, I need you to sit down." I sat, my anger draining away, replaced by something else. Dread, maybe, or fear of what I was about to hear. Sofia took a deep, shuddering breath. "Elena is my twin sister." Of all the things I'd imagined, that wasn't one of them. "Your twin?" She nodded. "Identical. We were inseparable growing up. Elena she was everything I wasn't. Brave, confident, outgoing. I was always the quiet one, the shy one. Elena was the one who made friends easily, who tried new things, who lived life at full volume. I adored her." I sat in stunned silence as Sofia continued. "When we were 22, we'd just graduated from college. Elena wanted to celebrate. She wanted to go skydiving." Sofia's voice cracked. "I was terrified of heights, always had been. But Elena begged me. She said we had to do it together, one last big adventure before we started our adult lives. She said it would be our twin thing, something we'd always remember." I could see where this was going. My chest tightened. I said no, at first. I was too scared, but Elena kept pushing, and I loved her so much. I wanted to make her happy, so I said yes. Sofia's hands were trembling in her lap. "We went to this place, a skydiving center about 2 hours from Dallas, where we were living at the time. We signed all the waivers, got all the training. We were going to do tandem jumps, each of us attached to an experienced instructor." She paused, staring at nothing, lost in the memory. "What happened?" I asked softly. "There was a malfunction with Elena's chute. The main chute didn't open properly, and when the instructor tried to deploy the reserve, something went wrong with that too. They fell. They fell from 10,000 feet. My hand went to my mouth. Oh my God. The instructor died on impact. Elena survived. Somehow, impossibly, she survived. But the fall, the impact, the trauma to her brain. Sofia was crying so hard now she could barely speak. The doctors said it was a miracle she was alive at all, but she never woke up. Not really. She's in what they call a minimally conscious state. Sometimes her eyes open, sometimes she makes sounds, but she's not there. My sister, my twin, the other half of my soul, she's gone. And it's my fault. Sofia, no! Yes! She stood abruptly, her voice fierce. It is my fault. I'm the one who finally agreed to go. I'm the one who signed us up for that jump. If I had just said no, if I had been stronger, if I had stuck to my gut feeling that it was dangerous, Elena would still be here. She'd be living her life. She'd be married. She'd have kids. She'd be designing beautiful things, just like she always wanted to. But instead, she's in a bed at Meadowbrook, trapped in her own body, and I'm the one who put her there. That's not true. It was an accident. An accident I caused. Sofia's voice broke. Do you understand? I killed my sister. I killed her, and I've been living with that guilt every single day for 19 years. I stood and tried to reach for her, but she backed away. After the accident, she continued, her voice hollow now, everything fell apart. My dad couldn't look at me. He never said it out loud, but I knew. He blamed me. How could he not? I blamed myself. My mom's family, they'd already cut us off years before, over some stupid family drama. Elena was the only family I had left that mattered, and I destroyed her. What about your dad? You said he died 3 years ago. He did. And do you know what his last words to me were? Sofia laughed bitterly. Not I love you, not I forgive you. He said, take care of your sister. That was it. That was the last thing my father ever said to me. Take care of your sister. The sister I killed. The pieces were falling into place, creating a picture of pain and guilt and secrecy that I'd never imagined. When I met you, Sofia said, her voice softer now. It was 5 years after the accident. I was in therapy, trying to rebuild my life. I was broken, Rob, completely broken. And then you walked into that coffee shop, and you smiled at me, and you were so kind, so normal, so untouched by tragedy. And I thought, here's my chance. Here's my chance to have a normal life. Here's my chance to be someone other than the girl who killed her twin sister. So you didn't tell me? She shook her head. I didn't tell you about Elena. I didn't tell you I had a sister. I let you believe I was an only child because it was easier. It was easier than explaining, easier than seeing the pity in your eyes, easier than watching you look at me differently. And then we fell in love, and you proposed, and I knew I should tell you, but I was terrified. Terrified that you'd leave. Terrified that you'd see me the way I saw myself, as a murderer. Sofia! Every Tuesday for 19 years I've gone to see her. I sit with her, I talk to her, I tell her about my life. I brush her hair, I paint her nails, I bring her flowers. I do all the things a sister should do, but she doesn't respond. She doesn't know I'm there. The doctors say she probably never will, but I can't stop going. Don't you see? It's my penance. It's the only way I can live with what I did. She sank back onto the couch, exhausted. And I couldn't tell you because I was afraid. Afraid you'd think I was broken. Afraid you'd think I was a horrible person. Afraid you'd leave me. Because if you left me, I'd have nothing. I'd be completely alone with my guilt and my broken sister. And I don't think I could survive that. I sat down next to her, my mind reeling. All this time Sofia had been carrying this burden alone. Every Tuesday she'd been visiting her sister, living with guilt and grief and fear, and I'd known nothing about it. Why now? I asked. Why have you been so secretive these past few months specifically? You said you've been visiting for 19 years. I've only noticed the Tuesdays for about 2 months. She wiped her eyes. Because Elena's condition has been declining. The doctors say it's common for long-term minimally conscious patients. Their bodies start to fail. She's had pneumonia 3 times this year. She's losing weight. They've had to increase her care significantly. She took a shaky breath. They don't think she has much time left. Maybe a few months, maybe a year. And I've been trying to process that. Trying to prepare for losing her all over again. And you thought you had to do that alone? I've been alone with this for 19 years, Rob. I didn't know how to do it any other way. I sat there looking at my wife, seeing her clearly for perhaps the first time, not as a liar or a stranger, but as someone who'd been in so much pain for so long that she'd built walls around the hurt. Walls so high and thick that even I, her husband, couldn't scale them. "I'm so sorry," I said. She looked at me, confused. "You're sorry? Rob, I'm the one who lied to you. I'm sorry you've been carrying this alone. I'm sorry you felt like you couldn't trust me with this. I'm sorry that you've spent our entire marriage believing I would leave you if I knew the truth about your sister." Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. "You're not angry?" "I'm angry that you didn't trust me enough to tell me. I'm angry that you let me imagine the worst instead of just being honest. But I'm not angry about Elena. God, Sofia, that was an accident. A terrible, horrible accident, but not your fault. It was my fault." "No." I took her hands in mine. "It wasn't. You didn't sabotage the parachute. You didn't cause the equipment to fail. You were just a young woman trying to make her sister happy. That doesn't make you responsible for what happened." She was shaking her head, denying it even as she cried. "Have you ever forgiven yourself?" I asked gently. "How can I? Look at what I did to her. Look at what I took from her. You didn't take anything from her. An equipment failure took her life from her. And you've spent 19 years punishing yourself for something that was never your fault." We sat there for a long time, holding hands, both of us crying now. Outside, the sun was setting, casting long shadows across the living room. Everything felt different now. The air felt different. Our marriage felt different. "I want to meet her," I said finally. Sofia's head snapped up. "What?" "Elena, I want to meet your sister. Tomorrow is Tuesday. Take me with you." "Rob, you don't have to." "I want to. You've been visiting her alone for 19 years. You don't have to do it alone anymore." She stared at me, searching my face as if looking for signs that I was lying, that I didn't mean it. "You really want to come?" "Yes, if you'll let me." She collapsed against me, sobbing into my shoulder. I held her, stroking her hair, feeling the weight of 19 years of secrets finally lifting from her shoulders. "I was so scared," she whispered against my chest. "So scared of losing you." "You're not going to lose me. I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere." We stayed like that until the room grew dark. Eventually, I convinced her to eat something, though neither of us had much appetite. We went to bed early, exhausted from the emotional weight of the day. As we lay in the darkness, Sofia spoke softly. "There's a photo album in my closet on the top shelf in a box marked college. There are pictures of Elena, of us together, if you want to see what she looked like before." "Tomorrow," I said. "Show me tomorrow, after we visit her." She nodded against my chest. "Okay. Sofia." "Yeah. Thank you for telling me. I know how hard that was. I should have told you years ago. Maybe. But you told me now. That's what matters." She was quiet for a moment. Then, "Rob, how did you find out? You said you hired a private investigator." "When?" I felt shame wash over me. "A couple of weeks ago. I followed you to Meadowbrook, but I couldn't figure out what the building was or why you were there. So I hired someone to find out." "You must have been so worried, so angry. I thought you were having an affair, or that you were sick." I imagined every worst-case scenario, except the real one. "I'm sorry I made you do that. I'm sorry I made you feel like you had to spy on me. I'm sorry I did it, instead of just demanding you tell me the truth." We were both sorry, both guilty, both imperfect. But we were also both here, still together, still holding each other in the darkness. "What do I say to her?" I asked. "To Elena. What do I say when I meet her?" Sofia was quiet for so long I thought she'd fallen asleep. Then, just talk to her, like she can hear you. Tell her who you are. Tell her you love me. That's what I do. I just talk to her like she's still here. Like she's still my sister. Like she still knows me, even though she probably doesn't. Does it help, talking to her? I don't know. Maybe. I hope so. I hope somewhere in there she knows I'm there. I hope she knows I never abandoned her, that I never will. I held her tighter. You're a good sister, Sofia. Better than you give yourself credit for. She didn't respond, but I felt her tears soaking through my shirt. That night I dreamed of two identical young women standing at the open door of an airplane, holding hands about to jump into the endless blue sky. In my dream, they both had Sofia's face, both had her smile. And in my dream, they both landed safely, both lived, both got to have the lives they deserved. But when I woke up, the reality was still there. One sister in our bed beside me, broken but healing. One sister in a facility across town, trapped between life and death, waiting for an end that would come too soon, or not soon enough. Tuesday morning arrived with a gray sky that threatened rain. Sofia was already awake when I opened my eyes, sitting up in bed, staring at nothing. "Nervous?" I asked. She nodded. I've never brought anyone to see her before. Not since the early days when my dad used to come. We don't have to do this if you're not ready. No, I want to. I don't know how to share her with you. She's been my secret for so long. She's not a secret anymore. She's your sister, and I'm your husband. It's time we both acknowledged that. We got ready in silence, both lost in our thoughts. Sofia dressed carefully, in a soft blue sweater, Elena, apparently, used to love. She did her makeup, then wiped it off and did it again, her hands shaking. "She won't care what you look like," I said gently. "I know. But I care." The drive to Meadowbrook took 20 minutes. Sofia was quiet, gripping the steering wheel so tightly her knuckles were white. I kept my hand on her thigh, offering silent support. The Meadowbrook Center was a low, sprawling building surrounded by well-maintained gardens. It looked more like a resort than a medical facility, which I supposed was the point. This was where people came to wait, to exist in the space between life and death, and it should at least be pleasant. We signed in at the front desk. The receptionist, an older woman with kind eyes, greeted Sofia by name. "Hello, Sofia. You're here for Elena's Tuesday visit." "Yes, Margaret, and I brought someone today. My husband, Rob." Margaret's eyebrows rose slightly, but she smiled warmly. "How wonderful. It's lovely to meet you, Rob. Elena is in her room. She had a good morning, ate most of her breakfast." Sofia nodded, and I could see her relaxing slightly. These small updates mattered, I realized. They were proof that Elena was still alive, still existing, even if not truly living. We walked down a long hallway with soft lighting and framed watercolors on the walls. Soft, classical music played from hidden speakers. Everything was designed to be soothing, peaceful, non-threatening. Sofia stopped in front of room 217. Her hand hovered over the door handle. "You okay?" I asked. "Give me a second." She closed her eyes, took 3 deep breaths. I recognized the technique from her therapy days, the grounding exercise. Then she opened her eyes and pushed open the door. The room was larger than I'd expected, with big windows overlooking the gardens. There was a hospital bed, medical equipment, a comfortable chair in the corner, and a small dresser with photos and flowers. And in the bed, propped up on pillows, was Elena. I wasn't prepared for the impact of seeing her. Sofia had said they were identical twins, but somehow I'd expected the years to have made them look different. They hadn't. Elena looked exactly like Sofia, except for the complete absence of expression on her face. Her eyes were open, staring at nothing. Her mouth was slack. She was there, but she wasn't there. "Hi, sweetie," Sofia said softly, moving to the bedside. Her whole demeanor had changed. Her voice was gentle, warm, the voice you'd use with a small child or someone you loved deeply. "I brought someone special to meet you today." She began the routine I would come to know well in the months that followed. She smoothed Elena's hair, which was the same dark brown as Sofia's, though cut shorter for easy maintenance. She checked the angle of the bed, adjusted the blanket. Small acts of care and love. "Elena," Sofia said, taking her sister's limp hand. "This is Rob, my husband. I've told you about him so many times, but I've never brought him to meet you. I'm sorry it took so long. I was scared, but I'm not scared anymore." I stood, awkwardly near the door, not sure what to do, where to go. Sofia looked back at me. "Come here, sit in the chair, talk to her." I moved to the chair beside the bed and sat down. Up close, I could see the subtle differences. Elena was thinner, her skin paler from years indoors. There were lines around her eyes that Sofia didn't have, though I couldn't tell if they were from age or from the constant muscle tension of her condition. "Hi, Elena," I said, feeling foolish talking to someone who couldn't hear me, couldn't respond. "I'm Rob. I married your sister 12 years ago. She's incredible in case you didn't know, though I'm guessing you did know. Sofia tells me you two were inseparable." Sofia was smiling through tears, arranging flowers in a vase by the window. "I wish I'd known about you sooner," I continued. "I wish Sofia had trusted me enough to tell me. But I understand why she didn't. She was scared. She's been carrying so much guilt, blaming herself for your accident. But I want you to know, if you can hear me somewhere in there, that it wasn't her fault. And I'm going to spend every day making sure she knows that too." I looked at Sofia, who had stopped arranging flowers and was just standing there crying silently. "Your sister is the strongest person I know," I said to Elena. "She's been visiting you every Tuesday for 19 years. She's never missed a visit. She talks to you, takes care of you, loves you even though you can't love her back. That's devotion. That's real love." We stayed for 4 hours. Sofia had brought her laptop and worked on a design while sitting next to Elena's bed, narrating what she was doing. "I'm working on a logo for a veterinary clinic. They want something friendly but professional. What do you think? Should I use the blue or the green?" "I'm leaning toward the green. Remember how you always said green was an underrated color?" I watched this one-sided conversation, marveling at how normal Sofia made it seem. She talked about the weather, about what she'd made for dinner the night before, about the drama with our neighbors who were fighting over a tree that grew between their properties. Just sister talk, except only one sister could talk back. Around noon, a nurse came in to adjust Elena's feeding tube and check her vitals. She greeted Sofia warmly, another sign of the years of Tuesdays. The relationship built through consistent presence. "How's she doing?" Sofia asked, the question she probably asked every week. "About the same," the nurse replied kindly. "Her blood pressure is good. Her oxygen levels are stable. She's a fighter, this one." After the nurse left, Sofia turned to me. "Do you want to see the pictures now, from before?" I nodded. She pulled out her phone and opened a photo album I'd never seen before. The first picture made my breath catch. 2 identical young women, arms around each other, huge smiles on their faces. Both had Sofia's eyes, her smile, her dimples. But Elena's smile was bigger, broader, more uninhibited. Sofia had been right. Even in a still photo, you could see the difference in their personalities. "This was at our college graduation," Sofia said, her voice thick with emotion. 3 weeks before the accident." She scrolled through more photos. The twins as children, gap-toothed and grinning, as teenagers, dressed for prom in matching blue dresses. In their early 20s, at what looked like a music festival, covered in mud and laughing hysterically. "She was so alive," Sofia whispered. "So full of life, and I took that from her. No, I said firmly. An accident took that from her. Not you. Sofia looked at her sister lying motionless in the bed. Sometimes I wonder if she's trapped in there, screaming to get out. If she knows what happened to her, if she's aware but just can't communicate. The doctors say probably not, but they can't be sure. No one can be sure. Do you want to know what I think? I asked. She nodded. I think if any part of Elena can still understand anything, she knows you're here. She knows you never abandoned her. She knows you love her. And I think she forgives you for whatever you think you did wrong. Sofia's face crumpled. You don't know that. No, but I believe it. And I think you should try to believe it too. We left Meadowbrook at 3:30, after Sofia had brushed Elena's hair one more time, told her we'd be back next Tuesday, and kissed her forehead goodbye. In the car, Sofia was quiet for a long time. Finally, she said, "Thank you for coming, for not running away, for still being here. Where else would I be? I thought when you found out, when you knew the truth, you'd see me differently, see me as broken or damaged or—" "I do see you differently," I interrupted. She looked at me, fear flashing across her face. "I see you as even stronger than I thought. I see you as someone who's been dealing with incredible pain and guilt for 19 years and still managed to build a life, a career, a marriage. I see you as someone who never gave up on her sister, even when it would have been easier to walk away." She pulled the car over to the side of the road and just sobbed. I held her as best I could across the center console, letting her cry out 19 years of secrets and shame and fear. "I'm so tired," she finally said. "I'm so tired of carrying this alone." "You don't have to anymore. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." That was 7 months ago. Since then, Tuesdays have become our day. We go to Meadowbrook together. Sometimes I sit quietly while Sofia talks to her sister. Sometimes I read aloud to Elena. Books Sofia says she used to love. Sometimes we bring our lunch and eat in her room, including her in our conversations even though she can't participate. Sofia has started therapy again, working through her guilt with a specialist in survivor's grief. It's slow progress, but it's progress. Some days are harder than others. Some days she comes home from Meadowbrook and cries for hours. But she's not crying alone anymore. 3 months ago, Elena had another bout of pneumonia. The doctors weren't sure she'd recover. Sofia and I spent 4 days by her bedside, taking turns sleeping in the chair, holding her hand, telling her it was okay to let go if she needed to. But Elena pulled through. She's a fighter, just like the nurse said. Last week, Sofia did something she hasn't done in 19 years. She threw a birthday party for Elena. We brought balloons, a cake, presents. We invited the Meadowbrook staff who'd cared for her all these years. Sofia's therapist said it was important to acknowledge that Elena is still here, still aging, still deserving of celebration. Elena is 41 now. So is Sofia. Twin sisters, living such different lives, but still connected by an unbreakable bond. I've learned a lot in these past months. I've learned that love isn't always pretty or easy. Sometimes it's sitting by a bedside, talking to someone who can't talk back, year after year after year. I've learned that guilt can destroy you if you let it, but forgiveness, even self-forgiveness, is possible if you're willing to do the work. Most importantly, I've learned that secrets in a marriage are like cracks in a foundation. They might seem small at first, insignificant, but over time, they grow. They weaken the structure. They threaten to bring the whole thing down. Sofia and I are rebuilding our foundation now. We're filling in the cracks with honesty and communication and trust. It's hard work. Some days I'm still angry that she kept such a huge secret from me for so long. Some days she's still scared that I'll wake up and realize I can't handle this, can't handle her pain and her broken sister and the weight of her guilt. But most days we're okay, more than okay. Sofia's freelance business is thriving. She's created a new logo for Meadowbrook, free of charge, her way of thanking them for years of care. I'm still teaching history, still trying to inspire teenagers to care about the past. We're planning that trip to Italy for next summer, though now the money is coming from both of us saving together, No secrets, no hidden accounts. And every Tuesday we visit Elena. Together. Last Tuesday, something extraordinary happened. I was reading aloud from one of Elena's favorite books, a mystery novel Sofia says they both loved when they were younger, when I saw her finger move. Just the slightest twitch, but definite movement. "Sofia," I said quietly. "Look at her hand." Sofia looked. We both watched. Elena's index finger moved again, just a fraction of an inch. Sofia gasped and grabbed her sister's hand. "Elena, sweetie, can you hear me? Can you do that again?" Nothing. For 5 minutes we watched, hoping, praying. But there was no more movement. "Maybe I imagined it," I started to say. "No," Sofia said firmly. "I saw it too. She moved. Even if it was just a reflex, even if it means nothing, she moved." On the drive home, Sofia was thoughtful. "You know what's strange?" she said. "For 19 years I've been praying for a miracle. Praying that Elena would wake up, come back to me, be herself again. But now I don't know if that's what I want anymore." "What do you mean?" "I mean, if she woke up, she'd have lost 19 years of her life. She'd find out she was paralyzed, that she can't walk or talk or live independently. She'd find out our dad is dead. She'd find out I've been living my life while she's been trapped in that bed." Would that be a gift or a cruelty? I didn't have an answer for that. I still don't. "But that finger moving," Sofia continued. "That felt like something. Like she's still in there somewhere, even if just a little bit. And maybe that's enough. Maybe just knowing she's still fighting, still existing, maybe that's the miracle." Yesterday, Sofia showed me something I'd never seen before. She has a box under our bed, filled with letters. Hundreds of letters written in her handwriting, all addressed to Elena. "I've been writing to her since the accident," she explained. "Every time I couldn't sleep. Every time the guilt was overwhelming. Every time I had something important to tell her, I'd write it down. I've never sent them anywhere, never read them aloud to her. They're just for me, I guess. A way to process." She pulled out one from the bottom of the box, yellowed with age. "This is from the week after the accident. Want to hear it?" I nodded. She read, "Dear Elena, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. The doctors say you might never wake up. Dad won't look at me. I wish it had been me instead of you. I wish I had been the one attached to the bad parachute. You deserve to live, to have a full life, to do all the things you dreamed of doing. And I took that from you. I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make this right, even though I know I never can. I love you. I'll always love you. Your twin, Sofia." She pulled out another one, more recent, from just a few months ago. "Dear Elena, I think I'm going to lose my husband. He knows something is wrong, and I can't keep lying to him. But I'm terrified to tell him the truth. Terrified he'll see me the way I see myself, as the person who destroyed her sister's life. If he leaves me, I'll have no one, just you, and you can't even know I'm here. I'm so tired, Elena. So tired of pretending, of hiding, of carrying this guilt alone. I don't know how much longer I can do this." She looked at me. "That was right before you hired the investigator, right before everything came out." "I'm glad it did," I said. "I'm glad I found out. I'm glad you don't have to carry this alone anymore." She smiled, a real smile, the kind that reaches her eyes. "Me too." This morning I woke up to find Sofia already up, sitting at the kitchen table with a fresh letter in front of her. I poured coffee and sat down across from her. "Writing to Elena?" I asked. She nodded. "Want to hear this one?" "Always." She read, "Dear Elena, it's been 7 months since Rob found out about you. 7 months since I stopped living 2 separate lives. 7 months since I stopped hiding. And you know what? I'm okay. We're okay. Better than okay. Rob comes with me every Tuesday now. He reads to you, talks to you, treats you like you're a real person, not just the burden I always feared people would see you as. He makes me believe that maybe, just maybe, I can forgive myself someday. Maybe I can stop punishing myself for an accident that I didn't cause, even though it feels like I did. Yesterday, your finger moved. Just a twitch, but we both saw it. And I felt hope for the first time in years. Not hope that you'll wake up necessarily. Just hope that you're still there, still fighting, still my sister. I love you, Elena. I always will, and I'm not alone anymore. Your twin, Sofia. She folded the letter and added it to the box. Then she looked at me with tears in her eyes and said something that made my heart swell. Thank you for not giving up on me. Thank you for seeing past the lies to the broken person underneath and deciding I was worth staying for. You were always worth staying for, I replied. I just wish you'd believed that sooner. We sat there in the morning light, drinking our coffee, comfortable in our silence. The secrets were gone now. The lies were in the past. What we had now was truth, even when that truth was painful. Especially when it was painful. Because here's what I've learned. A marriage built on comfortable lies is weaker than a marriage built on uncomfortable truths. Sofia thought she was protecting our relationship by hiding Elena from me, but she was actually putting it at risk. Every secret was another brick in the wall between us. Every lie was another crack in our foundation. Now there are no walls, no secrets, just two imperfect people trying to love each other and support each other and build a life together while also honoring the memory of the person Elena used to be and the reality of who she is now. It's not easy. Some days it's really hard, but it's real. And real is better than perfect. Real is better than pretend. Tomorrow is Tuesday. We'll go to Meadowbrook together. We'll sit with Elena, talk to her, care for her. We'll come home exhausted and emotionally drained. But we'll come home together. And that makes all the difference. If this story touched your heart, give it a like so that this teacher can feel happy. Subscribe to Bradley's Stories 1 right now so you don't miss the next stories I will tell with all my heart, and tell me in the comments where you're watching this video from and what time it is there right now. If you've ever kept a secret from someone you love because you were afraid of being judged, or if you've discovered someone you love has been hiding pain from you, share your experience. It makes this teacher very happy to know which city you're watching from and at what time of day you're keeping me company, and also to be able to exchange experiences that can help other families. Did you like my story? And which city are you listening from? Let's meet in the comments. If you like the story, you can support me by sending a super thanks so I can keep bringing more stories like this. Thank you so much for your sweet support. I'm looking forward to your comments on the story. On the screen, you can see 2 new life stories that I highly recommend. There's so much more on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next life story. With love and respect.